and it hit on a pompano rig. And just this little tiny hook, and it probably because they don't have all those outward teeth like other sharks do, it was able to hook that in. But like that was probably a 20 or 30-minute fight.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer Podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing and the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your host, Master Captain Angie Scott.
Welcome back to the Woman Angler and Adventurer Podcast. I'm your host, Angie Scott, and we're continuing our conversation this week with the phenomenal Cathy Sanders. If you caught our last episode, you know Cathy is a beach surf fishing guide and founder of Fishin Girl, a community dedicated to bringing women into the fishing world. In this second part, we'll explore some more tips that Cathy has, the impact of her online presence, and her future plans. Plus, she'll share some unforgettable fishing stories and advice for anyone looking to get started. So let's dive back in and continue this incredible journey with Cathy Sanders. I mentioned your website, fishin-girl.com. You have the surf fishing charters, which we'll talk a little bit more about that, but also a big thing that you've created is a community around Fishin Girl, and I want to talk a little bit more about that. I mean, this is the Woman Angler and Adventure podcast, so I think it's a perfect fit. I know you've already talked about that you've taken a lot of ladies out and taught them, but let's talk about your group and the community outreach aspect of what you do.
Yeah, so what really prompted the community was just the fact that everywhere I went, I was bumping into women who loved to fish. And I was like, noticing, fishing is such a male-driven industry. And it's like I think for when people just think of fishing off the bat, just in general, they think of it in terms of like a male sport. But I just kept meeting so many women who love to fish, and it was like, man, they're everywhere. And I just felt like I want to connect these ladies so they, number one, don't feel like they're alone in their passion. If they really like it, and maybe their husband thinks it's funny that they like to fish and he doesn't, or whatever. But it's not abnormal at all. I meet so many ladies who they just would be out there every day if they could, and their husband doesn't really care for it. He would rather just sit on the beach and watch her fish.
Yeah.
And that's like I see that so much. So when we started getting these ladies together, we did some meetups. Like we went down to Melbourne a few times. We did some other meetups. We haven't been traveling as much this year because I'm really focusing on charters and just building up the charters and things like that. But I love the fact that we've got over 600 women now in our group on Facebook. And at first, I started it as like a paid online community, just like a paid presence. And the main reason it was paid a lot of time into making courses and things, especially for women. It was geared toward women. So I was like, okay, this is some way we can kind of rebuttal some of this expense and all the time that I put into that. But the more ladies we got in there, the more I realized that they weren't even watching the courses. They were like not even interested in it. They were interested in friendship, in community. And so I was like, I'm not going to charge someone for community. I was like, we can just do a Facebook group, make it free, and then just find all these ladies who love to fish. And so like in our group, I feel like it's just the very beginning still. There's so many women out there. I want to find them all. I want to connect them all, because you see it in our group. Someone will say, hey, I'm going to be going such and such place. Does anyone want to join me? Anybody in the area want to come and fish with me? They want that community aspect. They want to be able to have friends that they can go and fish with, and it's another way to feel safe when you're out there too. So you're not just doing it alone.
Right. Yeah, it's important to have that community. And so I think it's great you've created that and a space where ladies can go and connect with each other. And, it's a lot about,
Mhm.
what this podcast has been about. So I'll put a link to the group as well in the show notes so people can go check that out.
Awesome.
And so, kind of similar to the podcast. Now, since you've created this group, what kind of things what have you gotten out of it? Because I can tell you, from this podcast, like the people I've met, the ladies I've met, and got to meet one on one in person, and maybe even go fishing with. I mean, it's just been an amazing thing. Have you kind of had that same experience with the network you're creating?
Yeah, it brings me a lot of joy, really. I go in there and I see, people posting and they're excited about sharing their own experiences with fishing, and they're asking questions, and other ladies are chiming in and giving their, advice and things like that. And then we're seeing them post again, like that they've had success using the advice that they've gotten either from me or from other people in the group. And it's like it's a very fulfilling feeling that, we're all in there together, we're all helping each other, and all like just run it together.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna spring this on you because this wasn't in the outline. I'll edit this, and if you don't have an example, that's we can move on. But do you have any like examples of maybe a connection that was made in the group that's just been a great story that comes to mind?
um
I
Let
w-
me
I
think.
would be
I
put on the spot if somebody asked me
Yeah.
that about the podcast. So
No, that yeah, there are some ladies who have started fishing together, and I'll hear them say, "Oh yeah, so and so and I are going out fishing again next week or whatever." And
Mhm.
I'm like, "Okay." And I know that they met each other through the group, so it's
Yeah,
like it's so cool to know that they found their fishing friend because they were part of the group. So, but yeah, there are a few examples like that.
very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about we talked about your record. Are there any other memorable catches that you have a story about that you'd like to share?
Yes, actually, I was talking with a friend about this earlier today, but I think it was just about a year ago, maybe a little bit longer, but I was just out fishing, normal day on the beach, and I ended up pulling in a 5 foot nurse shark.
Mm,
It was 56 inches to the fork in the tail, and then if you've seen a nurse shark's tail, they have this longer part that comes out. So I know it was over 5 foot,
wow.
and it hit on a pompano rig, and just this little tiny hook, and it probably because they don't have all those outward teeth like other sharks do.
Mhm.
It was able to hook that in, but like that was probably a 20 or 30-minute fight. And that one's also on my YouTube channel. I think the video is called Slapped by a Shark because she kept, as I was trying to unhook her, she was, it could have been a male, but nurse sharks are always she's to me for some reason. Same with
The
ladyfish.
nurse, yeah.
I'm always
Same, yeah.
calling them she.
That's funny.
Yeah, she
Never
kept
thought about that.
reaching around with her tail, slapping my hand like 2 or 3 times. I'm like, I'm trying to help you, and I talk to my fish too. I'm if you watch my videos, I'm always talking to my fish. But then not only that, like that fight, I didn't realize how much it took out of me
Mm,
because I'm walking back to my car, and I've never felt this way before. I just like I think I was bordering on heat exhaustion. It's like I
wow.
almost had to just quit and couldn't even hardly get back, and somehow made it back to my car. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to start bringing Gatorade with me because I didn't realize how hot it was, and I didn't realize how much that fight took out of me.
Mm,
But yeah, and that catch actually became a good example that I used in a lot of different videos of how you can reel in larger fish without breaking your line, because I had 20-pound mono
oh wow.
on my line, and it's a pompano rig, so we're talking like maybe 20-pound mono on the line on the rig itself,
Mm-hmm.
um, and a tiny little like 1 or 2 aught hook. So to be able to pull in that big of a fish, and she was so heavy, I had to drag her by the tail back to my cart to get my pliers because she had run down the beach, and so it was quite a ways away from my cart. I had to get her back over to where I could get my pliers and get her safely unhooked and then back in the water. So, and that was quite the experience.
Yeah.
I'll definitely not forget that anytime soon.
Probably on top of the fight, you've got that going on, but then your heart's pumping. I always get excited
Hmm.
when I get a good fight going, and I don't know what it
Yeah,
is. And
yeah,
I guess if I was gonna catch a shark, a nurse shark would probably be one I'd maybe want to catch because as I understand, they're one of the more docile shark
yeah.
species.
It felt like a lot of more like moving weight for the most part. I think I felt like it was maybe a um, like a stingray at first
Mm,
because it wasn't as like when you have I don't know if you've caught other kind of sharks, but they usually put up a really good fight. And I've had some that like almost spool my whole line
mm,
because they're so active.
mhm,
But yeah, she was just like it was like a lot of weight,
mm.
moving weight.
Still fun. Still a ton of
Yeah,
fun. Awesome. Well,
definitely.
we talked in the very beginning about how you came from a family that didn't really fish, and you've mentioned your husband. He likes to fish, but it's not a huge passion, at least not currently. Um, so how has your family supported all your fishing endeavors over the years?
Well, Andy will help me. He helps me a lot on the behind the scenes stuff.
Mm,
So he does a lot of marketing, a lot of social media things for me, and just a ton of other things that I wouldn't be able to be doing what I do if it wasn't for him because he puts a lot of time and a lot of effort into it behind the scenes. My kids, they cheer me on. My daughter, I try to get her out fishing with me, and she pretty much she's an artist, a photographer. She ended up taking pictures and videos for me that day,
oh, cool.
which was helpful because I didn't have my GoPro
Yeah.
at the time, and then I was able to use those on a lot of platforms. But my son, I've taught him to fish, and he's an artist too. He'll actually come out to the beach and he'll do plein air paintings while I'm fishing and stuff, and talk to people as they're coming by and things like that. So, but yeah, they're all very excited about what's happening with Fishin Girl, and but
That's
yeah, I've
awesome.
gotten nothing but support from my family, so that's been great.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's awesome, and I imagine it makes a huge difference because some people might not realize it's actually very difficult to run a fishing charter company.
Mm,
And it sounds like it would be a dream job for anybody who's passionate about fishing, but there's a lot of, like you said, that behind the scenes work,
yep.
just a lot of hard blood, sweat, and tears, basically, to try
Yeah.
to be able to run a successful business. I know your boat is one of your biggest investments. In some cases, it's your office or your home. So protecting it with Polyform US fenders is a must. From the G Series utility fenders to the heavy-duty F Series fenders, Polyform will protect your wake boat, commercial fishing boat, or yacht. Their strong, single-piece construction is created with even wall thickness for maximum strength and durability. Polyform US fenders are unparalleled in quality and offer the largest selection of sizes and colors in the market. They've been made in America for over 40 years and are trusted by boat owners worldwide as the best way to protect their investment on the water. Visit your local marine dealer and ask for Polyform US fenders by name, or visit us online at polyformus.com. So if
Hmm.
somebody listening right now wants is thinking about starting, or that's a goal, maybe a long-term goal, they want to go into that at some point. What advice would you have for somebody wanting to start a successful fishing charter business?
I would say the first thing they should do is talk to as many other guides as they can.
Mhm.
I would, think of as many questions as you can possibly think of. And that's something I did is I came up with uh, pages of questions, and anyone who was willing to talk to me, who was a surf fishing guide. And I don't know if you've ever had Allison Statner on your show.
Don't think I have.
Um, she's down in like the Jupiter area, and you definitely need to have her. She's a big, huge proponent of Ikejime. She's, I believe, on the board with
Yeah.
Catch a Florida Memory or somewhere on with the FWC. She's
I
involved with a lot of stuff, actually.
Yeah, I think
But
somebody else did mention that I should have her on the podcast. I'll have to go back at
yeah,
my notes and see.
yeah,
Um,
she's amazing.
I will
But
revisit that.
she took like an hour and a half, answered every question that I had, and she really helped me a lot when I was just in the planning phases of running charters. And she actually helped me have a lot more confidence about what I was getting ready to step into, because I had not done it before, and she was able to really kind of help me get more like a handle on, okay, this is what it's going to look like when I do this.
Hmm.
Um, and not that I'm copying like anything she does, because I've actually never been on a charter with her, but just the way that she um, explained things, the way that she um, put my perspective, I guess you might say, she helped me get my perspective right on what charters are all about, and how to run them in a way that people are going to walk away having a great experience.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah, so I think
that was
finding a good mentor would be a really important thing if it's something
exactly.
you're looking to do.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. Yep.
So surf fishing, you're in it day in day out. What kind of trends are you seeing in the industry, and are there, like, in bass fishing right now, the big thing is forward facing sonar, this new technology, and there's some controversy around it, and some of these guys are putting 3 or 4 units on their boat, so it's like, wow, is this even really fishing anymore? um, but is there anything like that going on in surf fishing, like with new techniques and technologies?
I well, I'll talk about a minute what we're doing that I feel like is it's not new, but it's something that's not being done a lot, and it's been very, very productive. But just in general, I think I'm seeing a lot more of people using drones, either
Mm,
to scope out the beach, to be able to get that vantage point up high, to be able to even possibly see where the fish are, but be able to definitely see the underwater structure. You can see it a lot better from, way up high,
hmm.
obviously. And a lot of people are using them to get their bait out where they want it.
Mm,
So they'll buy the drones that can drop the bait, and then which it's a huge advantage, especially for those who want to do like shark fishing. Or so, I've
hmm.
heard, people who do shark fishing, they used to have to take a kayak and kayak out, 500, 1,000 yards out into the ocean and drop their bait out there. Well, now they don't have to do that. They've got a drone that they can just, fly it out, drop there, and then the drone comes back and comes right back to where where it
Yeah.
started at on its own. So I would say those are trends that I'm seeing, but not like widespread. I mean, the average old, person that's just coming out on the beach to fish probably isn't going to have a drone.
Hmm.
But people who are really into, into like probably more YouTubers and stuff
Right.
are doing that, or people into shark fishing and things like that. But there's been more and more people flocking to surf fishing, and I think that's for a few reasons. It's number one, it's accessible.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone can do it. You don't have to have a boat. You don't have to. All you need is a shoreline
Right.
and a rod and reel. I mean, people just take regular rods and reels out, and I mean, half the time we're probably overcasting anyways. There's a lot of fish up close, especially if you're on a high impact beach, which what I mean by that is there's like a deep trough close to the shore.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've ever been, I don't know if you've ever been over in like Flagler Beach area, or someplace like that, they're the type of beach where you walk out 10 to 20 feet and you're chest deep in water. That's a high impact beach. You're going to have a lot of fish that are up close, as opposed to like Daytona Beach is a low impact beach. It's going to take you a long ways. You just keep walking and walking out yards and yards, 100 yards, and you're still only knee deep in water. Then that's a low impact beach. You're going to have to probably fish that closer to low tide to be able to get any depth in there. Because if you're casting at high tide, you're probably either walking halfway in to the sandbar and then casting, or if you're casting from the before the water hits, then you're just in inches of water that your bait is sitting there. So but yeah, I think it's surf fishing it's accessible. It's not too difficult to pick up. You can just throw a shrimp in and probably catch something.
That's the extent of my surf fishing. I get a pyramid sinker, and of course this is on the Gulf, but and then a piece of frozen shrimp, and I toss it in and wait and see what happens. And it's just a ton of fun because, like I said, you never know what you're gonna catch. And it's easy, and you're on the beach.
Yeah, so that's the biggest thing too, is like, even if you're having a bad day fishing, it's still a good day because you're on the beach.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, just can't beat it.
Well, this has been awesome. We'll start kind of wrapping it up here, but do you have any future plans or any announcements or anything that you want to mention? Any trips or anything like that coming up?
Well, we're going to keep expanding the Women's Fishing Club on Facebook. We'll be doing more charters. So if people are wanting to book with us, we are going to be filling up the schedule with that. And something we will be doing in the next year or so is we're building a publishing house of books and publications. It's all going to be about women in fishing. So we're really excited about that because we want to take the 15 years of experience that we have in the publishing industry. Well, I have 15. My husband has more than I do with publishing. But we want to champion the women who are out there every day doing it. And I love what you're doing too with your podcast and bringing everyone's attention to all these women in the industry. I think it's wonderful.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And likewise with everything you're doing. It's great. I'm so glad that I got connected with you, and maybe we'll get to fish together one day.
That would be awesome.
That'd be a lot of fun. Do you have any final thoughts for listeners? Any advice or just kind of inspiration to share?
Yeah. Last advice, do your research before you get out, and then do put it in practice. Some people can get stuck watching videos all day, but they're never out there doing it. So watch the videos, but get out there, learn the fish identification. If you're going to do surf fishing, a couple of apps that people can write down is the app called Surfline. I use that all the time. It's going to show you accurate information about tides, wind direction, wind conditions, waves, even the barometer and everything. And then if you're here in Florida, we've got the app called Fish Rules, and that's going to give you all the regulations that you need to know about what fish you can keep and what you can't. But ladies, don't be afraid to try something new, even in a male-dominated industry like fishing. But have fun and share the beach. That's
Thank you so much for this conversation. I've really enjoyed it.
I have too.